My grandson might pop in at the end because I'm babysitting today. So if he
That's
gets here
cool.
while I'm still on the hangout, he's probably going to have his face right up here in front of the camera.
Right on. Right on. That's awesome. Okay, so we are live. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday Morning Mastermind. Welcome to everybody that's hanging out with us. If you're out there on the Google Plus page or wherever you happen to be, go ahead and leave us a comment below the video there. Let us know where you're hanging out from. Is this your first time hanging out with us? And, what you hope to gain or experience from, tuning into this on our wonderful Saturday morning. We are the Mindset Mastery Collective, and if you're here with us, you're part of that. And if you'd like to connect with us in our community, all you have to do is go to mindsetmasterycollective.com. That is our Google Plus community where you can add your thoughts to our conversation and, and share your own life experiences and anything related to what we're talking about or personal development in any way. We're happy to have you, and we enjoy listening to what everybody has to say. I'm just going to introduce myself real quick, and then we'll go across the panel here. I'm here with my good friends Vicki, Dan, Catherine, and Jason. He's new with us this week, and so I want to hear from everybody. So anyway, I'm Samantha Studebaker-Carl. I've been hosting the Saturday Morning Mastermind for a little over a year and a half now. And I'm coming at you live from beautiful Southwest Georgia. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Vicki, and you guys can jump on out. I'm going to jump over here to the page real quick in the background. See who's hanging with us.
Good morning, everybody. Like I say, my name is Vicki DeVore, and I'm coming at you from Houston, Texas. It's a beautiful day here, and it's probably going to be really hot, but, that's what's cool about this group is we get to come here and we get to hang out every Saturday. So I'm glad to be here. So thanks, Samantha.
Good morning, this is Catherine Clement, and I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and it's gorgeous here today. It's a bit chilly this morning, but that's how we like it here. So I can still see some snow on the mountaintops. I think we're going to keep snow all through this summer, actually, because it'll be snowing next month soon. So, and I am so glad that we have a new person on the panel today. Love to hear where you're from, Jason, and how your weather is out there. So let me hush here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it. Really excited to be here, and looking forward to hashing out some of these things with you guys. Thanks a lot.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Smith. I live in Boise, Idaho, and it's good to be back. I went camping 2 weekends in a row, which I usually go camping like once a year, so I'm a year ahead at this point in time. So anyway, it's going to be a beautiful day. It's a nice cool down in the weather out there. We've had a really hot summer, and it's actually down into the 50s this morning, so it's a very nice day today. So welcome to everybody, and thanks for coming.
Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button there. I meant to unmute myself, and then I turned my camera off for a second. Awesome, guys. I'm so glad to have you all on here. And Dan, I have to say, the whole beard, you look like you've been out in like the deep, dark wilderness of the mountains or something. You look like the grizzly man or whatever.
My razor actually broke like 2 weeks ago, so I was saying earlier before you came on, I have to grow it out about once every year or two just to see what color it is. It used to be brown, and now it's kind of all over the map. So anyway.
That's awesome. I like it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so guys, so this week we are kind of continuing our study of Chapter 12. It is Chapter 12, right? Let's see. Yes, Chapter 12 of the new Psycho-Cybernetics. And in this chapter is all about kind of bringing or overcoming anxiety, stress, and those sorts of things without having to resort to drugs, and that there's many different ways that we can each kind of tap into our own internal resources in order to overcome these anxieties and frustrations in our lives. And last week we all kind of shared a little bit of our experiences and some of the things that we've done to overcome stresses in our lives. And hopefully you guys were able to see that hangout. And if you didn't, then there is a link in the description here on the event page. If you kind of just click on the description and scroll down to the bottom, there's a link where you can go and watch all the replays for the previous sessions. But this week, you know, we have been doing, just over the past few sessions, we've been doing a kind of pre-mastermind discussion in our Mindset Mastery Collective community. And, you know, everybody kind of shared their experiences on some of the larger stressful situations that they've had in their lives. And I thought that, you know, we would just kind of jump in and talk about those a little bit today. And then share how we dealt with them back then, and then turn around and share how we would deal with them now if that same similar situation was to arise, based on some of the things that we've been learning in the new Psycho-Cybernetic. So I thought that would be very helpful for everybody out there who is going through stress or has anxiety or is you know, working through depression or any number of just unpleasant things in your life that tend to come up, because we all have life experiences that are less than fun, and when you can learn new and different ways to cope with them, then of course you can increase the level of happiness in your life, as well as just have a better life overall. And so that's what we want to help you be able to do. And of course we want to hear your thoughts on these things too. Have you been through a difficult life experience and been able to overcome it in some way similar to what we're talking about? We would love to hear how you did that. And that way you can share your story and your experiences with others and help them work through those things too. But before we go on, let me just jump over here to the page real quick and welcome everybody who's hanging out with us this morning. Welcome Sandy Kirkland. Let's see who else is hanging out with us this morning. Duncan Shaw, Gregory McKenzie, welcome guys, welcome, welcome. And anybody else who pops in here, just post on the page and let us know that you're hanging out with us. But let's go ahead and get into it. You know, I was reading through the pre-mastermind discussion this morning. You know, I kind of read through a little bit the other day, but I didn't have time to respond, and I wanted to just briefly go through it again this morning. And everybody has had so many things happen in their lives that have been just, I don't know if you want to say that they're traumatic, but you know, I think that we've all experienced some level of traumatic event in our life that has been, you know, hard to cope with. And you know, Catherine, I mean, you mentioned that your daughter went missing when she was 16, and and you know, Danielle was mentioning how she was having some difficulties with her kids, and her son had you know, started having seizures when he was 17, and you know, I mean, it was just amazing to me how so many things can happen to us in our lives, and you know, how each one of us deals with it in a different way. But guys, you know, let's just answer this question. You know, in the pre-mastermind discussion, well, that was one of the things I posted in there, is what are some experiences that you've had in your life that you know, have been really difficult, and let's just kind of talk about that a little bit. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll hop out here.
Okay.
I guess for me, probably, of course, I posted in the pre-mastermind about the skiing accident with my son. But probably one of the most trying and emotional times was when my fiance was ill and in the process of passing away. And you do what you have to do at the time and everything else, but what we found as he was getting closer is that, what was it, those movies like Goldmember or something like that, some of those, you know, one of those type movies, is that when we were really faced with the reality that his time was very short, is we did, I forget who proved and healed himself with laughter, but we put on Goldmember. And this was a one-bedroom apartment with, around Christmas time, with 14 or 15 people. His entire family was there. And we needed something. I mean, you can only live on Starbucks and Shipley's Donuts for so long, you know, while you're here. And Rick always loved, you know, those series that, like Goldmember or whatever it is, you know, those stupid, silly movies. And so we put those on, and we laughed and laughed, and that was a release. I think what that helped us do is that helped us release some of the stress and some of the reality about what was going on. Certainly, I don't wish that that had have happened, and I certainly did not want to be the one who helped take care of him pretty much 24/7 for the last 2 weeks. And even when he did take his last earthly breath, I was the one who pronounced him, because I'm a nurse in the state of Texas. And but, you know, really, I mean, somebody from the outside may look at that and be going, you know, here's this man in his apartment, and he's, you know, he's on hospice, and he's in the process of leaving and transitioning into the other realm, and all we're hearing is laughter from coming out of that apartment. You know, people could have possibly judged us on that, but it was one of the best times and one of the funniest and one of the greatest releases that we had. So, you know, sometimes you just have to, in my opinion, you need a little laughter. You need that break. And sometimes when you can do that, it can kind of take off, or at least divert your attention away from some of the severity of whatever you've been through. So that was one of them. But like I say, being a mom and, you know, having my son do a quadruple somersault down a blue black in Colorado while I was altitude sick, okay, if you want to, you can go ahead and you can read about that. But, you know, that is something that sometimes I still have a little bit of a challenge with, is when, you know, where is everybody, and where they're supposed to be. So sometimes when I get in that point, I go back and I try to find something funny to either read or watch or something like that. So that's one of the things I do. So that's my part for right now.
I like how you talk about, you know, using laughter to, you know, overcome some of the stresses, you know. And in this chapter, Dr. Maltz talks about, what's it he says in here? Where is this section? Oh, he's talking about you need a certain amount of escapism, you know, when you have a lot of stress going on in your life, or a lot of anxiety, is that just to be able to escape for a few moments and, you know, just allow yourself to not have to feel that stress for that little bit, so that you can kind of relieve it. And he talked about how he visited Yellowstone and, you know, was watching the old faithful geyser, and how this one child was standing there, and he goes, you know, what is it that makes it do that, Dad? And the son, or the father of the child, was like, well, you know, Mother Earth just sometimes, you know, gets a lot of pressure built up and then has to release it. And he was like, you know, use that as an example in your own mind, or, you know, do things in your own life where you allow yourself to just, you know, blow off steam, if you will. And I thought that was just super powerful. You know, one experience that I had, you know, a number of years ago was when I was working full time. Both my kids were in daycare, and you know, I was just under a lot of stress in my work because I was frustrated with the place that I was working at, and I was having anxiety about financial situation, and you know, and then my daughter, she like did something at daycare where she like fell and smacked her head on a counter, and we had gone and, you know, had her checked out for that. And then it was like within a week or so, my husband went to go visit some friends up about an hour away from where I worked, and he got in a motorcycle accident. And it was like all these things were happening all at the same time. And when I got this phone call, I just got off the phone call and I just started laughing and crying hysterically. I'm like, my husband was just in a car, or he was just in a motorcycle accident, you know, and I'm doing this kind of blah, you know, laughing and crying all at the same time. And I'm just like grooming my dog, and my friends are all going, what are you doing? You should be leaving right now. And I'm like, I have finish this dog. You know, it's just like one of those things where sometimes you just gotta, you know, sometimes just laughing hysterically and not making any sense at all, you know, is that release that you need. And so that was an experience that I had. But anyway, jump out. Anybody else?
Well, I just wanted to put in my 2 cents about the escapism part. I know that in the past I really relied on physical activity, and I was always taught that that was a good way to, you know, get out your anxiety. You know, and it is, but it can also, you know, if it just becomes a habit of only handling things that way, you know, there's something that is lacking in just sort of letting it all out through physical activity. What I had been missing was actually stepping into the emotional drama or issues or event and actually working it out, you know, working it out logically. So if it ever came up again, I had something to fall back on, something solid, rather than just going into the habit of using something to escape. So that's something I wanted to just kind of put out there. It's a little scarier to actually, you know, run towards the fire, so to speak, but you know, sometimes I think we need to take time to do that as well.
That's a great point, Jason. And that's one of the things that I think sets this group apart a little bit, because a lot of the groups, and there's nothing wrong or right with either one. It's just a different way of looking at it. A lot of groups and a lot of esoteric teachings right now talk about just completely, like, don't acknowledge, like, just forget that, that's in the past, be in the now, you can't worry about that. And there's a good lesson, you know, there's a good part to that. But many of us on this panel, as we've been sharing with each other, have found out that we kind of tried that and it didn't work. Like, those things come up and bite you in the butt. You have to at some point go back and acknowledge them, you know, use that. All emotions can be very motivating, so no emotion is bad. Anger has its use, and sadness has its use, and grief has its use, and happiness has its use. It's all very everything is perfect, is that we need all of that. But on this panel, you know, we don't mind stepping back into these things, not to dwell in them, but to acknowledge to each other that we're actually human. We actually have feelings. You know, we all, as you can see, all of us have experienced incredible things in our lives, and how and sharing those things with each other, and then how we got through them, can really be powerful and help people, instead of just putting on the rose-colored glasses all the time, you know, because it makes people feel isolated. If you're looking at everybody online and everybody's perfect and got these perfect lives and it's all, you know, everything, and then you're sitting at home going, what's wrong with me? You know, why do I have all this, you know, stuff going on? So I love laughter. I use laughter every day for a lot of things, and I love, you know, sometimes you have to cry too, and tears are so healing, because sometimes they start out as sad tears, but then, like, they move into grateful tears, or they, you know, there's lots of different kinds of tears. So tears are good. And then as far as escapism, boy, that was, you guys know I totally got hooked on video games when I wound up in bed. I went from, you know, not having time for a video game ever to, like, that's all I did, because that was escapism for me. I was able to get into a completely different world. And now that I've had that experience, like physically playing the games, now I can just go there in my mind really easy, and so I can pull a lot of emotions from that time, like when there'd be like a group of 40 of us going in to fight this huge dragon, you know, your heart's pounding and you're like about ready to get blown, you know, flamed up and everything, and you can pull that kind of energy when you need it. I'm pretty low key, so I really have to work hard at it when I need to pull up angry energy, or really battling energy. I have to pretend someone stole my grandson or something, and then I can get all riled up. So I love the way that we share stuff on this panel, and that we're not afraid of some of these subjects, because these are the things that we all have in common. So, come on, Dan, let's hear from you.
Wow. I feel like one of the least qualified people on the planet to really give anybody advice about how to deal with stress, because I lived with such a high stress level for so many years, and different things that I did over the years in order to deal with it. And I loved what you was talking about, Samantha, about just cracking up laughing. It reminded me of a situation one time where several days just nothing went right. And finally I pulled up in front of a house. I had a new employee, and I had him doing some work. And he'd gotten paint all over this roof of this brand new house. And I pulled up there, and it's like, I just cracked up laughing. And I mean, I shouldn't have, but that's the only way I could deal with it at that time. It's like, okay, am I going to have to replace this entire roof, at my own expense? But it's like all the wheels had come off, the doors had blown off of my life at that point. It's like, okay, you can't hurt me any worse than what you already have. So, go ahead, take your best shot. I don't care. At that particular time. So yeah, I just cracked up laughing because I didn't know what else to do. So we started getting out buckets of water and got on the roof and spent about 4 hours between two of us a piece cleaning up roof. You just deal with it. You just do what you got to do at the time in order to deal with it. But like I say, I feel like one of the least qualified people on the planet to tell other people how to deal with their stress, because I'm still in the process of learning how to deal with my own stress. And for years and years running a painting company, and everything I did had a deadline and a schedule to it. And sometimes those deadlines and schedules seemed like they were just about one notch to the left of impossible in order to hit that deadline. But you just did what you had to do. Sometimes you stayed till 11 o'clock at night if you had to, and get the job done, 16 hours, whatever. You just did what you had to do at the time in order to get through it. But the way that I operated for all those years was that I learned how to pump adrenaline, how to pump my own adrenaline, and actually take anger and channel it into physical activity. So that's why I say I don't feel like I'm a very qualified person to tell somebody else how to deal with their anxieties and their stresses, because I'm 60 years old and I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with my own stresses. But one of the things that I've done over the years is to actually just sit down, take a few minutes, sometimes just 4 or 5 minutes, close my eyes, control my breathing, slow my breathing down, and actually visualize myself being generally it's along like a river, and I'm just watching the water go by, maybe fishing, and just in a peaceful setting in the pine trees, and that will help to calm me. Sometimes it's music. I remember one particular time, I kind of hesitate even to bring this up because it's not maybe politically correct, but I'm a Christian, and one night I came home from work and I was so stressed out. I was at the end of my own particular, what I could physically deal with myself. And I didn't know what else to do, but I know that there's different scripture passages. One of them is, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. And I know that music has always calmed me and soothed me. And I got out my mother's songbook. My mother died like 10 years ago. And I got out a songbook that she used to take to church with her. And I just sat, and for about 2 hours, I did nothing but sing songs out of this old songbook. Nobody around, just me. But for me, at that particular time, in order for me to get through the stress that I was going through, that's what I had to do. And I had to praise God, and I had to get close to my Creator, because what I was going through at that time was bigger than me. I didn't have the ability, I didn't have the strength, the courage, the power to go through it on my own. And so I tapped into my Creator as my source, and He brought me through. So anyway, like I say, you can take that for what it's worth. I know it's not politically correct, but that's where I was at in life. So anyway, I won't capitalize the conversation anymore. I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Hey, Dan.
Okay, go ahead, Vicki. Sorry.
You know, I do something that's very similar. Is there's been a lot of times that say, you know, while I may not sing outwardly, I always used to find a praise chorus that used to just really resonate with me, and you know, and just say that over and over in my mind. And this morning I posted out on the mastery group, Samantha, I posted a picture that says your mind is satisfied when it hears answers from your soul. So that kind of goes along what I think with, for like Dan, is that there is some of those times when the best thing we can do is get quiet and to really get in tune with our heart and our soul. And when we can do that, then those answers come to us. So Dan, in my opinion, don't ever apologize for, you know, your faith or anything like that. Have to say politically correct or anything like that. That is a very important part of a lot of people's lives, and there's nothing wrong, and I would just encourage you to never even say that again. Just step into your faith, and if someone else has an issue with it, then that's okay, because that is the ground, that is the stabilizing force for a lot of us, is to go inward and to connect with God, connect with our source, connect with the universe, and connect with our soul. So thanks, Samantha. I didn't mean to hop out and kind of jump in on you there.
No, that's great, Vicki. You know, because I was basically going to say a lot of the same thing to you, Dan, is that, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter if we're politically correct. I mean, that's not what we're here for. We're here to, you know, express our experiences and share what we do know and what we have experienced so that other people can take that information and maybe that is going to help them in some way. And, you know, and like Vicki was saying, that a lot of people are very spiritual in the same way that you are, Dan, and I think that that's important. Everybody has their own method for connecting with Source and connecting with God, and the way that you do it is completely personal to you, and that's okay, and that's great. I mean, it's awesome, because that's what you need to do. You need to work within your own values and your own beliefs and your own personal everything so that you can overcome the stresses that happen in your life. I mean, that is so powerful, because I mean, so many people out there, they don't even try and do that. They just resort straight to drugs. And, you know, and I know there is a place for drugs out there in the world. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't do something. But, you know, for me personally, if I can choose to overcome it inside of my own self and work through it in a way that I don't have to numb myself to the entire world in order to overcome it, I would prefer to do that. And, you know, and if spirituality or, you know, connecting with God or singing hymns or whatever it is something that helps you, then by all means do it and be proud of doing it, because that works, and it works for you. It's going to work for someone else, and when you share that experience, it can help someone else. So thank you for coming out and saying that. And you know, and the one thing, it was when you were talking about you know, laughing hysterically and you know, the whole painting situation, that I was sitting here thinking, you know, isn't it funny how we can literally go back in time in that moment and feel those exact emotions as they happened back then, even though it's been, you know, for me, it's been, I don't even know how long, 15 years or something like that, and I still can feel that exact emotion of what happened at that very, very moment. But let's see, what else can we talk about here? Oh, okay, so you know, like the emotional carryover, it was talking about how when you get stressed out and you have all these things happening in your life and you're all up and frustrated and all of those kinds of things, that sometimes it can carry over into other situations and cause accidents or cause mishaps or cause problems in your family, or any number of things if you don't do something to overcome that. And for an example, it's like when when I was grooming very regularly, when I was working full time doing that and stressing myself out and trying to do too many dogs in a day and all of that kind of thing. And like you, Dan, you were trying to do so much in your business, and I was doing the exact same thing. And one thing that I wasn't very good at the time was going from being in this mode of super patience, because in that job you had to have like the patience of eternal patience in order to work with the animals and do the job that you needed to do. Well, when I would come home after I'd had to be patient all day long and be perfect and be on spot with customer service and all of these things, is then I'd come home and my kids would be going and my husband would be going and whatever, and I'd just be like, ah! I'd be upset. And it was one of those things where it's like it carried over, all this stress carried over to this like tipping point. I'd come home and then I would, lash out at my family. And yeah, my husband's over there going, yep, she did. And and the thing is that if I had known some of these techniques, like it was talking about one of the things in here, where he was saying just taking a few moments in between your stressful situation and your, whatever you're going to do next, is just kind of clearing the slate. If I had taken maybe 20 minutes in between, work and home and given myself that, personal time to release that tension and just decompress, is that maybe I could have been, perfectly fine at home and not been a crazy woman, an insane mom or whatever you want to call it. And, so, hey, little person, how you doing? I see you. What's his name? Catherine?
This is Aiden. A-I-D-E-N, Aiden.
Hi.
Hi, Aiden.
Talking to you. They're talking to you. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. You're live on Candid Camera.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, goodness. So, okay, so what about you guys? What experiences have you had where, you were all stressed out and then it carried over into another situation and caused unpleasantness?
Oh, I went through the same thing, I mean, God, you're running a million miles an hour all day long, and then you come home and my kids come running, Daddy, 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 and they want my time, and my ex-wife wanted my time, and it's like, God, I just need like 5 minutes to decompress, yeah, and so honestly, I didn't handle it very well. I really didn't. But yeah, just to take 5 minutes before you actually walk in the door and decompress a little bit and slow down. But it was really difficult for me to go through that stress all day long, then come home and you've already given so much of yourself away to other people in your daytime job that you don't have anything left to give to your family. And quite frankly, I went through a divorce 16 years ago that had that was a significant factor in the divorce that I went through, was because of that all I ever did was work. I worked 6 days a week. A 10-hour day was an average day, and then it went up from there. And for me personally, when a few years ago, I mean, I'm remarried now. I'm happy as a clam. I got a great life. I do. And I have to say that even no matter how much pain I've ever gone through in my life, and I've had some painful situations in my life, no matter how much struggle that I've ever had, all the crap that I've crawled through in my life, I can sit here, I'm staring at a camera, but I'm trying to look you right in the eye and tell you I've had a great life. It's been a good life. I mean, I'm in physical pain all the time. Catherine, I think you can identify with that. But no matter how much crap that I've gone through in life, I can sit here and say I have had a great life. And if I die today, I mean, great. It's been a good run. I'm happy with it. You know, you just do the best you can do with what you've got to do with at the time. And I had a situation last week. I mean, I came home from camping last Monday night and didn't check the phone messages until pretty late. And my wife was checking the phone messages and found out that my son had been arrested and was in the county jail for some stupidity from his past, you know. And, you know, I mean, all day long Tuesday, I was kind of like in a funk, you know, trying to figure out, okay, you know, what in the world's going on here? How come my son got arrested and is sitting in jail, you know? And finally came to the conclusion, I mean, he's been doing stuff and pulling crap for about 15 years now. He got really heavy into prescription drugs a few years ago, and basically for the last few years, if his lips was moving, he was probably lying, you know, and which is real classic, you know, drug addiction type of stuff. But you know, it's out of my hands. He's 33 years old, and really, I just had to reach a point where it's okay. I'm not responsible for the things that he's done. He's responsible for that, and I'll support him, yeah, as best I can. But I also reached a point where, in a sense, I was happy that he got arrested, because it's hopefully it's going to be a wake-up call to him to slap him. You know, sometimes you need that slap in order to pull your head out of your behind and you know, come on and join the group, you know. So anyways, the way that I dealt with it is honestly, I just turned it over to God, because you know, it's in his hands. He's 33. I can't turn him over my knee and spank him, or, you know, reprimand him. It'll do absolutely no good. But there are other things in life that can reprimand him in a way that I can't do it. And to put that out of my mind, to take that out of my court, so to speak, that I'm not responsible for a 33-year-old. He's responsible for being, he's right at in life the law of sowing and reaping. He is reaping what he has sown in the past. And I know that from my own past, things that I had to go through, that was a slap in my face that it took to jerk me to attention, to bring me to a point in life where I was willing to quit some of the bad habits and some of the things that I'd done in the past as well. So anyways, I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Well, Dan, I can probably assure you that when this occurred with your son, and since he wasn't able to get a hold of you, and then found out that you weren't coming immediately, that was a big wake-up call too. You know, sometimes our children, the things that our children go through, it breaks our heart. But I had something similar a few years ago, and I remember, I can still hear it, standing here in the kitchen, and in my spirit, it is as if God told me, Vicki, do you trust me? And I'm going, you know, I had to have that minute. Did I trust or did I not? And then it followed up with, this is more about you than it is about him. Whoa, another one. In other words, lesson for me, and just like you, is, I mean, my son is an adult. He's made some choices as well. But the main thing was did I trust enough that I could completely let go and take my hands off of his situation? Because by holding on so tightly is that I probably was constricting his path out of my own fear. And I think that's probably the lesson I had to learn, and that's what was meant by it's more about me than about him, was that I had to get to the point that, like the same thing with you, is that I had to completely surrender my child to his path and to what he's doing. I love him, just I know you love your son with all your heart. I know all of us here on the panel, we love our children with all of our hearts. We love, if we're grandparents, we love our grandchildren with all of our hearts. There comes a time, though, that, like you said, they have to stand on their own 2 feet, just like we had to, in order to go our path. Because I know one thing, my father told me that if I ever ended up in jail, I just might as well plan on sitting there because he wasn't going to come rescue me. Well, I never had that experience, thank God. But there was a real eye-opener for my own child. And I'm sure, like with yours, when they got the message is, well, either he made the phone call or someone made the phone call for him to find out there was no answer. Like, oh my gosh, you mean my parents aren't there to come save me? You mean they have a life? You know, so, but anyway, I just wanted to encourage you on that because, you know, you're right. You're totally correct. Is it where he is right now, as all of us are, is we are where we are now because of the decisions that we've made. And his path can correct, and this may be the one thing that will help do that because you were not readily available. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. So.
Okay, I can step out here, Dan, because the part of what I wrote about with my 16-year-old, that's a long story, but part of that story is that after about 8 weeks or so, I think it was, I wound up finding her in another state. I had to travel and go get her and stuff, and I brought her home, and you know, we sat down and we talked, and we went over everything that had happened and how it had affected all of us, all 3 of us. And she wound up leaving again within just a matter of days. And it's way too long for me to go into, but in the end, when I wound up prosecuting her, when I finally got her home, I wound up prosecuting her. The DA did not want to do anything, you know. There were actually charges against her for grand theft auto, and he was not going to prosecute her. And I said, no, this is too serious because she left my son and I at, you know, very high elevation without a vehicle. And I mean, it was a very serious situation. And, you know, that was one of the scariest things I ever did because, as you said, Vicki, I love my kids more than anything in the world. And for me to risk knowing that I was going to put her in jail and she might never talk to me again was really, it was very frightening, you know. But at the same time, I knew this was something that there had to be a very serious consequence to, or this behavior was going to continue. I knew that because I did those sorts of behaviors, you know, and didn't get as harsh of consequences as maybe I should have, but maybe more, I don't know. But the thing is, when she was in jail, I would go visit with her like every chance, every visiting session or whatever. I would go and we would sit and talk about what happened and really work through some of this stuff. And after that time, she told me, she said the first time I heard that door shut, you know, on the jail cell, and I realized I lost my freedom, it really opened my eyes. And here comes my grandson with the flute. But you know, she thanked me. She wound up thanking me for that, Dan, for actually putting her in jail because it opened her eyes. She had some experiences in there. She actually saved some lives in jail. I mean, we are not in control of all this, you guys, and we may have different spiritual beliefs or different religions or whatever, but we are not in control. Things are happening, and we have to learn how to react and adjust and, you know, things like that. But it's not just like a lot of us about us, but a lot of it's about them, and a lot of us about them, and everybody's going through their own thing and learning their own lessons, and we have no idea what has driven people to certain behaviors, even with drug abuse. And I know there's a lot of good uses for drugs, and then there's abuse of drugs, but even drug abuse saves lives. It keeps people alive. It keeps people from killing themselves when they're depressed. I mean, there's really, all these things have a use, and we just have to be careful not to judge, but to try to see what that is serving in that person's life or someone else's life. Even a child that sort of refuses to grow up or constantly needs our help can you know, that is like for my son, I have to help my son out once in a while. He has 4 kids. My daughter only has this one little one. But oh, you're doing it so softly. Thank you. He's being very, very quiet with the flute. But I have to help him out. But that kind of, you know, in a way, it sort of spurs me to work harder on my business. You know, it spurs me to set more of an example for him and show him how he can support his kids. And, you know, everything really plays a part. So I'll get off here so he can enjoy his flute now.
Glad you're back, Jason. I wondered what happened to you. I hate it when computer things do their, you know, last week I kept falling off the Hangout every couple of minutes, so jump in if you've got anything you want to add to the conversation. I haven't had an opportunity too much. I'll be quiet.
Oh, it's great. I'm listening to you guys. I'm sorry I missed quite a bit of it there. But yeah, my computer went down, and that's just one of the things you just have to kind of, you know, like you say, laugh and move forward and take care of it. Luckily, I was able to get back on, but it completely, you know, turned off on me. I don't know. But I had a great kick out of, I think it was last week with, I learned that you have that train that comes through, and that was, we all had a good laugh with that. Kind of snuck up on you. I just wanted to say, yeah, you know, there's some great points about, you know, using laughter, using singing. I mean, those are all some really, you know, I didn't, those weren't the first things that come to my mind, but I definitely used that, you know, pretty much on a regular basis. And things like cleaning, you know, doing the little tasks that just need to be done that can kind of get me moving forward, without having to put too much thought into it, and allow me to kind of gain a little ground rather than lose ground by, you know, by maybe sulking or, you know, reverting to some other activities that really don't, you know, help me in the situation. But yeah, all those things are really good. I think you know, what you say about drugs helping people, you know, there are instances where that helps. And usually people are in pretty dire straits, unfortunately. I think that the main thing we need to think of, even with, you know, caffeine and sugar and all the stuff, is that, you know, it dulls the pain, you know, and it can cloud our vision. And one thing I've learned recently is that, you know, we're pushed by our pain, you know, to get us out of situations, or to handle situations, and we're also pulled by our vision. And you know, if there's anything, if we do anything that kind of clouds those two aspects of our lives, kind of, you know, at least for me, it seems like I get stuck in the middle. So it's just something to be aware of. I just kind of wanted to bring up. But a lot of great points. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
I think that was a great point that you made, Jason, that you're pulled by your vision. That your why, what is your why in life? You know, what do you want out of life? Why would you, I mean, let's face it, building network marketing company is not the easiest thing in the world. So why do we sign up on the dotted line to go out here and do something that from a lot of people's view is impossible? Why would you stretch yourself? Why would you grow in areas that is not necessarily pleasant all the time? Personal growth is not always pleasant. It can be a struggle, but it's that struggle in life without dulling your senses, struggling forward to fall forward every day, you know, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, but at least you've gained a step. That makes life worth living. I mean, in my humble opinion, you know, to strive for something better, instead of just accepting a status quo, accepting life as it comes to you on a platter, just being under the circumstances. Well, I guess I'm under the circumstances. I guess there's nothing I can do about this. Bull. You can do something about it. You can strive for something better. You can make a choice and make a decision to move towards your goal, to move towards your dream, to say, I'm not going to stay here under the circumstances. You can take your circumstances and shove them where the sun doesn't shine, because I ain't needing that. I'm going to go for what I want to go for, and I'm going to go do and build and become something better than what I am. And without using drugs or without, I'm an ex-drug user, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about here. You know, is that, you know, I quit using drugs 33 years ago when my son was 6 months old, but I used it for 16 years prior to that. And when I did a darn good job of it. And everything I do to excess, to a certain extent. So, you know, when my wife left me, my first wife left me 16 years ago, she told me that I was depressed, that I needed to go on to, I can't think of the word for it. It's a mood stabilizer type of a drug. So, you know, I wanted my wife to come back home, wanted life to be good again, so to speak. And so I went to the doctor, told him that I needed antidepressants, that's what it was. And so he gave me a prescription for antidepressants. And I took one pill, you're supposed to take it at bedtime. I took it on Wednesday night before I went to bed. And I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I sat up and I had this nastiest taste in my mouth that you can even imagine. And I remember saying out loud to myself, I could be an axe murderer right now and I wouldn't care. And that's the way that one pill made me feel. And that was on a Wednesday night, and it was Sunday night before I could finally feel that leaving my body. And it's like, man, if that's what I got to do, forget it. I will never do that again. I will never take that kind. I don't know what was in that stuff, but it was terrible. I felt awful. And to strive to become better, to strive to fight your way forward in life, not to be caught under the circumstances, to say to the circumstances, you know, there's a scripture passage. It says that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, be thou cast into the sea, shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe the things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. So you got a mountain in your life, you got a giant, you got something that's blocking your path. You have the ability to, with your words, with your mouth, with your thoughts, to speak to that mountain, to tell it to get out of your way, that it doesn't have to hinder you, that you can overcome, that you can move forward, you can move the mountains, the giants, the sycamore trees, whatever it is that's in your path. You can move that mountain with your words, with sustained trust, with sustained faith, move forward, get it out of your way, get it out of your life, and overcome it. And that is the striving that we do to become better human beings in life, to make more of ourselves rather than just accepting circumstances what they are, to overcome circumstances, to move above them, move them out of your life, and be more. So anyway, I'll turn it over. Sorry for the rant.
That is such a great point, Dan, in that you can choose. You get to choose. And that's the key right there, is that you can choose whether you want to wallow in your stress and your anxiety and your frustrations and your life difficulties, or you can choose to overcome. And it's that act of choosing, making that decision to do what it is that you ultimately want. And like what Jason was saying, is that, you know, allowing your vision to pull you forward and your frustrations and whatnot to push you forward. You know, because that's the key right there, is that frustration, anger, anxiety, stress, all of that stuff that you want to reduce in your life can have that kind of repelling effect once you latch onto that vision that it is that you want. Because you can latch on that vision, you can make the decision that you're going to accomplish it, and you can just keep going forward towards it and allow that kind of pain from behind to push you forward, because obviously you don't want to go back towards that, right? And I like how you were talking, Jason, how you said, you know, if you don't know what to do, sometimes just getting busy. you know, doing cleaning or work or physical activity of any kind. You know, I've done that a number of times where I'm sitting there and I'm like feeling directionless for whatever reason and not knowing what to do and starting to feel that kind of unpleasant feeling of, okay, now I start feeling sorry for myself because I don't know what I'm going to do. And so instead of wallowing in that self-frustration, is to just get up and do something, you know, clean something, do the dishes, you know, just anything. And, you know, and what's interesting is I was actually reading, or I was watching a seminar not too long ago where they were talking about this method called the power pause. And I think I mentioned this on a previous hangout. Power pause is basically a 3-step method for overcoming any kind of whatever it is you're going through by, first of all, just recognizing that you're going through it. Second of all, taking just 3 minutes and doing something else, thinking something else, taking some sort of action to take your mind away from what it is that's causing you the discomfort. And then after you do that for about 3 minutes and you realize, okay, I don't have to feel that way, now focus on your vision for what you do want to feel. And just that 3-step process is, of course, that's what everything boils down to. Is 1, recognizing that there's an issue, 2, doing something other than, and 3, focusing on what you want. And that's the key. Anyway, guys, it's right at the top of the hour, and you know, we've had an awesome and amazing discussion today. And I wish sometimes we could probably talk just for hours, you know, but then everybody would get bored probably. So we just need to wrap it up at about an hour. But before I do that, does anybody else have anything they want to, you know, any final words? Jump out.
I do. Just real quick. Oh, he's in the pirate ship, so I'm going to have to go here in a second. But but I just wanted to say, when I am, you know, faltering and I've lost my focus, my direction, I'm feeling some stress or whatever, what I do is I immediately go into my self-talk now, because that, and self-talk is just a few short phrases that I've come up with that are very present tense and very motivating. And I say these things, I actually say these things thousands of times a day because I have them recorded playing in the background in my voice with music and everything. And so I go into my self-talk immediately because it brings me right back into focus. It, you know, when you practice things, just like in martial arts, they practice things over and over until it becomes just automatic. And that's how the self-talk is. You practice it, and then when you get in a little spot that you're not being productive, or not necessarily productive, but, you know, you're off course, then you can just jump into your self-talk. It brings you right back where you need to be. Plus, you're helping to manifest what you're trying to bring about all at the same time. So I did a blog post about it. It's in the community if you need some information on that. Thank you so much, everyone who came, and we really appreciate your input, Jason. I surely hope that you'll come back with us next week.
Oh yeah, cool. Thanks. Really appreciate it. Glad to be here. Thanks, guys. I did want to say one other thing about you know, how we release our anxiety right now. You know, we'll probably all come away from this noticing other ways that we tend to handle things. And I was just thinking that just, you know, kind of make sure that it is on a positive note. I've seen people even with like singing, the songs that they choose to listen to in order to get their mind away from what's bothering them. Sometimes they don't seem like they might be the very best choices for songs. I've seen people listen to rap songs that seem to, you know, have more hatred and violence in them to sort of get them off of their own personal issues. And you know, I mean, I think, you know, it's all a personal decision, but I think, you know, the words that we have, you know, put in our minds definitely help propel us in the direction. So if we're mindful of that, I think that can help us as well. So I just wanted to lay that out there.
Any final thoughts, Vicki? Is she frozen?
No, I hope not. Am I frozen?
No, go ahead.
You know, I mean, that has been happening. You know, I think that's totally correct. And my last, you know, kind of tidbit is, you know, and it goes on with what Jason said, is we have to guard our hearts and our mind. Goes with what Catherine was talking about, the self-talk. Unfortunately, this probably means at some point I'm going to have to do some more cleaning around the house. You know, you know, some more of those little activities that I really don't like to do, but that does make perfect sense. And it's not necessarily the activity itself. It's like you said, Samantha. It's being in motion. Sometimes, like we say, you know, sometimes our best thoughts come at us when we're in the shower or stuff like that. Sometimes it's the same way. It's just that pattern interrupt and to do something to be in motion. So my main takeaway from today is, you know, guard your hearts, guard your mind, fill it with positive stuff, great self-talk, and know that everything that we've gone through, I mean, literally everything we've gone through has led us to this point, and it's not just for us alone. It's for us to reach out and help other people. So that's my 2 cents for this week.
That's absolutely right, and that's why we're here, guys. So, you know, if you are getting value from these hangouts, then by all means, leave us a comment, post in the community, share your own experiences and insights and in what we talk about here, because we want to hear from you. You know, we can learn from you just as well as you can learn from us. And so, you know, post again in our mindsetmasterycollective.com community. That's our Google Plus community. And one other thing before we wrap up here is that the end of this chapter has some mental training exercises. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those and post them in the mindsetmasterycollective.com community. That way you guys can, you know, use them however they will help you. And so that's it for today. So have an awesome, amazing, wonderful weekend. Meet us here again, the Saturday Morning Mastermind.com for next week, 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you'd like to jump on the panel with us, just shoot a message to one of us and we'll invite you next week. So with that, have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.